Christina, tell me, how did you quit yesterday?
Quit is such a hard word. I've never been a quitter, but unfortunately, it was just time. I think after these last, 4 to 5 months of just going through the bond process, it's almost been like having a secondary job. We have taken on a huge amount of extra workload as city employees, and we still have so much that we still have to do on top of it. So, and in no way am I complaining. It's just the reality is simply that, we've been working really hard, and the negativity just seems to get louder and louder. And it's just been one of those frustrating. The reality is simple. I couldn't do it anymore. All the passion and work that has just gone into the bond and to economic development, because we've still had to do both jobs this entire time, and it's really not fair. It's just not fair to give and work so hard in a city that has been transparent, that has adopted policies and procedures and have factual information that's available online, and yet the rhetoric of social media just continues to negate all of that. It's just been a difficult time, and I think there comes a point where your sanity just drives you to feel the need to do what's best for your well-being, but more importantly, to get the real information out and the truth. I think that what people don't realize is that as a city employee, you cannot advocate for this bond in any way. You can only educate. And there's only so far the education goes, because these are our projects. Obviously, I'm passionate about these projects, and it's been really difficult not to show that passion when discussing this athletics multi-purpose sports complex or Riverfront Park Extension. And not only has that been limiting, but it's also limited us from the rhetoric or the misinformation. And we have to understand that the City of Beaumont is only as loud as the followers or the people that find that information, right? So if misinformation gets out there, it's really, we're spending so much time, kind of contradicting that information. And many times it's difficult for people to know what to believe. And I don't blame so many of our citizens for being confused right now. Again, first bond in 43 years. It's confusing. Even with all the work that I put in, there were still times where if it hadn't been researching and learning about bonds and seeing what other cities in the state of Texas has done, and that's just it, is that there's so much information that we're not really able to get out there. And that includes the law. There is actual state and federal laws that prohibit the city from mismanaging and misappropriating funds. And while I understand that this city has had a rhetoric of BISD and a previous history that has shaped, honestly, a lot of opinions moving forward, we also have to realize how many of those misappropriation stories have you heard specifically within the City of Beaumont? Because again, the city is not the county and it's not BISD. And it's very important that we note not only the difference, but more importantly, the future. Because the only way for this city to grow is to have an economic pulse and to have readily funds available that are continuing to be able to reinvest. And the funds for this bond could truly be impactful for the City of Beaumont. And now I can officially say that.
So yesterday, did you send an email? You went into somebody's office? What happened?
If I told you the truth, I went to our HR director and I just needed to have a one-on-one. I needed to explain all the pressures, and a huge part of it is honestly, it's on me. It's because when I give something to a job, I give everything, and I am fully committed. And I think over the last 8 years with the City of Beaumont, I've put the city over my family, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it kept feeling like the more progress, the more you see the change, the more you see the ability and the effects of your work, the harder you work. And the truth is that lately, though, we're not seeing how hard the city employees are working. We're seeing how simple misinformation can spread. We're seeing, a divisive city that, when we really come down to it, it's not about the bond. The conversation is no longer about the bond. The conversation goes towards specific, politicians or to the politics that are governing our city. And so I think that it's time for all of our citizens to really look for the facts and to reach out. I mean, I am available on DM. I've come to find a lot of free time. You can find me on Facebook. My name is Christina Lokey, and I am here to answer any questions, but more importantly, not to give you my opinion, but to show you the facts and show you where on the city website you'd be able to find the capital improvement plans and the community investment plans for the last 3 years, that every single one of these projects are slated on. You know, there's a strategic plan that was adopted in 2022 and 2023, and that strategic plan defines the mission of where we're going. And one of the main goals was for Beaumont to become a sports tourist destination. And what better way to do that than a multi-purpose sports complex with 8 indoor basketball fields that convert to 16 volleyball fields that also convert to 27 pickleball fields. And if you think I keep talking and I need to slow down, understand that I've been waiting to shout to the rooftops just how beneficial this bond could truly be. And now that I'm no longer a city employee, I'm allowed to do that.
What's another thing that you felt like, just with all the mess and the kind of mudslinging that you felt like you wanted to speak up on, but you just couldn't? You talked about the bond being some sort of a racial issue between, you know, a certain group not wanting to have this for a certain group, which is kind of had the city in a landlock, if you would say, or a stalemate, you know?
Absolutely. The best thing about this bond has been spending the time in the community and getting to talk to so many people, and not just so many people, in all the different wards. What's been so interesting is that if you were to take 15 random citizens and put them in a row, they're all gonna like different things on this bond and not like other things on the bond. And each one of them is gonna have a unique opinion. That's what's so exciting about this. This is a comprehensive bond. Is it perfect? Probably not. First time, again, in 43 years, the city has gone out to bond. But what's exciting about it is that it is actually giving the city of Beaumont the opportunity to have the capital improvement plans that have just continued to year in and year out stayed or rolled off because we haven't had the funds to support them. Yes, does the police need a new police station? Absolutely. If you haven't been out there, go. Animal shelter, 32 new pets just recently were dropped off there. You don't think that that place needs more shelter? I mean, there's so much of this bond that is truly essential needs that the city needs. And yes, there's some wants, but some of those wants have economic development potential, true funding that could return on investment. They could truly bring in, for every dollar we're spending, they could bring in $2 to $3, sometimes even $7. And that extends to Riverfront Park Extension. It also extends to Point Parkway. And we have to understand that this new road may cost us money, but when we have 400 homes that get developed on that new area, in 7 years, just those homes are gonna repay the city in property taxes. And that's not even to mention the commercial property incentives or the sales tax that comes from it. So if we could spend more time learning the facts from this bond and not listening to the misinformation, you're really coming to find that for this $14.25 rate, it truly could be impactful and allow for more long-standing economic benefits that bring in better schools. Because again, these property taxes don't just benefit the city, it benefits BISD, it benefits the county, it benefits the port. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Why do you think people are so divided about this bond, about certain propositions? And this shouldn't be on there, this should be on there. I don't want this, I want that.
At the end of the day, not many citizens are watching what actually happens during a council meeting. And it's very different what happens during a council meeting and what happens on social media. And not just social media, what happens in an interview or the information that is given to Beaumont Enterprise or to the newspaper, right? We have to understand that there's political agendas at play, and rightfully so, it happens in every city, right? But at the same time, what we've got to look forward to in this bond is not to necessarily think which ward got which things, but more importantly, when is the last time you drove outside of your ward or outside of the day-to-day places you have? There is blight in so many parts of our city. And more importantly than that, the more people that continue to say that there's no development downtown or no development happening, look behind me or look across the street, or as we're in the Hearsay parking lot, get ready for their expansion. And that's what's so exciting about this, is that the development is happening. It may not be at a very fast rate, but it's happening enough to where people need to know that this misinformation needs to stop.
2 more questions. I know we're hot now. We got the sun.
Yeah, no, you're great. Can I do this? One of these? Okay.
Yes.
Hey, is there any chance I can get a copy of this?
So we don't do copies.
Okay.
But sometimes we'll put the whole interview on YouTube.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah.
I would love that.
Let me ask Jenny. I'm sure she'll be
Yeah.
fine with it. We did it with Tom.
Even this part. Hi. I just asked for the whole interview to be on YouTube, and I hope you're watching.
Like, hi, Jenny.
I know. Hi, Jen.
Christina, what was the final straw for you yesterday?
Okay, I'm just going to say this. Let's look at the facts. For recently, the Examiner published a back-to-back portrait of BISD with the City of Beaumont, causing what spurred a media effect where every one of the media starts playing out the possibility of misappropriation by the city with $264 million, which is completely fair and understandable. Every single council meeting, at the last council meeting, every single council member instructed that they believed that there should be an oversight committee. It was said, it was mentioned. You can watch council and watch that. And what's so surprising to me is, here's this whole narrative that this bond money needs to be managed and misappropriated. No one takes the time to go look at actual legislation and laws that exist for the state that will prohibit the city from misappropriating those funds and not necessarily moving money. Everybody keeps saying, oh, the city is going to be able to move money. No, the city can only move money within that proposition. So Proposition C, that's based for parks, the city's only going to be able to move that money within parks. They're not going to be able to fund more of the money from Proposition C into a police station. That's not a park, and that's not what's in the proposition. So there's just so much misinformation that the facts aren't there. But let's just go back to what we were saying. So here we go, a whole week of you can't trust the city with this money, there's not going to be enough in place. So our mayor takes it upon himself to create an oversight committee, what was already agreed upon by every council member sitting on the dais. Now, unfortunately, when the mayor goes out to do this committee, first of all, he's completely allowed to. But unfortunately, we have council members who feel like they should have also had a say who should have been on that committee. But we have to look at the last committee that was made. The last committee was a bond committee that included, maybe not the best representatives of the city. And many of those appointees didn't even show up for a majority of the bond meetings. And that's the problem here, is because these are unpaid positions. They're not getting money to come in or to spend their time, or honestly now their credibility, because it's all been blasted. So it's difficult to understand why a citizen would agree to be on a bond oversight committee. But more to it than that, it's important for citizens to realize that the city is listening to you. They heard you. You don't feel you're still PTSD over BISD, which is completely fair. But at the same time, many of us, our 30 to 40-year-olds, I was in high school. I can't tell you what happened or who the name was or what the story is. I know it happened, but I'm not going to hold every decision today when none of the people who are currently at City Hall right now had anything to do with it. And again, I will continue to say, reach out to the City of Beaumont. There's an open records request for any misappropriated funds over the last 20 years for the City of Beaumont. Do it, because that's what's really encouraging about this, is that the City of Beaumont already has such a hard process. You have to go out for RFP, you get at least three bids. The city manager is only allowed to approve $50,000. I think that right there, that statement, that fact, citizens have no idea about. Just $50,000. So when you see millions and millions in a deficit, the city manager is only allowed to approve up to $50,000. And just once you take that into conceptual idea that the information you're being fed is not facts, then let's go one step further and allow for you to realize this entire bond process has been completely transparent. Every one of the meetings are available online, many of which, Ebony, I know you went to. And so I think that what's discouraging of this process is even when the city tries to do exactly what the citizens have asked, which is, per se, an oversight committee, then it turns into the rhetoric we're hearing today. And that is why. That is what has pushed me over the edge, is because typical cities would never have worked to build an oversight committee in that short period of a time, right? To be proactive, for a city to be proactive, and that's what the city is doing. And again, why is it that we waited 43 years to go out to bond? That's the real question. And you're going to continue to doubt this administration, who is showing progress continuously, but you're not able to see that progress because there's too much negativity and noise.
Christina, I love that. So this committee was created within the last week, would you say?
I mean, I honestly don't know the person of the mayor, but I do know this. I've been watching a lot of the council members, and there are a few of them who've been going on live on Monday or Sunday nights. I think it's like AJ and LaDonna. And during their live videos, I've heard them mention an oversight committee. And then the City of Beaumont did a podcast recently in which that oversight committee and the actual audit committee was announced. Did you know there was an audit committee?
No.
There's an audit committee. So get excited. There is already an audit committee that exists for the City of Beaumont. And the audit committee gets to sit down with our auditors and go over the entire budget. And guess who is on that audit committee? We have our mayor, Roy West. We have our mayor pro temp, AJ Turner. And we have our council member, Corey Crenshaw. Those three make up our audit committee. So if that wasn't enough, we heard everyone on the dais say that there needed to be an oversight committee for this bond. How impactful is it to see the city take a proactive approach, but yet immediately that proactive approach turns into a misinformation, and honest to God, the mayor is rightfully and legally allowed to do what he did. And that's the one thing that no one can really kind of capture or grasp, is that these committees are not necessarily getting paid. These are citizens willing to donate their time. And by discrediting this committee, you discredited every name that was on that list.
So the issue with council members is that they didn't get to pick who's on it.
And I would just say that I could understand. Now this is an opinion and not a fact, and this is the first opinion I will say this whole interview, but I can understand the mayor wanting to ensure that the right people are on this committee, because I'm sure he thought that each individual name would be targeted or would be looked at like of having allegiance or possibility alliances with how misappropriation starts. And again, remember the bond committee. Remember how many of those appointees didn't show up, or honestly may not have been the right fit for the bond committee in the first place.
Now, my last question, Christina. How do you feel like all this negativity, the mudslinging, the back and forth online, will impact voters and negatively and the bond, essentially?
Ebony, now that I'm not a city employee, I have no problem saying this. I want to live in a happy city, in a friendly city. I want to be in a community, and I am in one. That's what this place is for me. And I went to high school here and have come back, and I'm raising my family here, and I love Beaumont. But lately, it has just sucked, man. It is like the life has been just taking out of you, the fun and the happiness. Do you realize Oktoberfest brought how many people from this city days ago? And to highlight something to where this community was all able to come together and share on one unique just day. And then for that to be oversighted and just for this much turmoil to have happened instantaneously, to have done a proactive approach to address a problem that was stated by said personnel. So I think that the real concern here is, man, I want brighter days, and I believe in the growth in the city of Beaumont, and I think citizens know that Beaumont deserves better, and Beaumont needs you to go to the polls, to go vote. And when you're voting, take a minute and consider the condition of the parks when you bring your kids there. Consider the roads and the police station that's honestly from 1953. And consider 5 new buildings that would be built. I mean, I don't think that this city has ever had a chance to reach this much potential. And if it meant leaving the job that I love and hold so dear, just to say the other side of this conversation, to tell you how badly Beaumont desperately needs, not just the bond, but just belief. It needs its citizens to believe that, God, what they're doing at City Hall is growth, and they're moving forward, and there's a strategic plan for the first time in 20 years. And that vision, that mission, that's what all of the directors are working towards, and they know how they're meeting those goals. And I don't know, I'm not gonna say nothing is perfect, no one is perfect, and I'm not saying that the city doesn't have room for growth, but if every day the sky is falling in the city that I love so much, it's just, I'm ready for the beautiful sky that you can see right now, right here, the development that's right behind me, the facts, because Beaumont deserves a brighter day, and I will continue to do everything I can to be a part of the solution.
Do you feel like this bond could fail because of everything that's happened? Because I don't want to
I think there's just people who are against the bond. I think that they wanted the bond to be something specific, and I think there's no secret that they're not for the bond, and that's okay. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. I love the right of freedom of speech. We deserve that. But we're not talking about the bond. We're calling out our mayor. We're bullying our employees, and we're not taking into consideration the fact that just like these citizens that are honestly working for free or willing to put their name out there to be on the oversight committee that have just completely been slandered this whole time, you've also got to think of the city employees. They don't make that much. They're working almost twice as hard. This has been a huge amount of extra load on there. There's not money at the end of the day. My 80-hour work weeks for the last 6 to 8 weeks, I don't get extra money or extra pay. There's nothing that comes to that. My sleepless nights, missing my daughter's dance, all of those things you don't get paid for because you're doing it because you want to see growth and you want to see betterment. And it's just so disheartening to see all of that effort go to waste in such a short period of time. To see us all together as a community in Oktoberfest and to see us immediately divided on Facebook in hours. It's just not okay.
Being out of the office now, how do you plan to continue your advocacy and the love that you have for this city, for this bond?
Girl, I can't answer that right now.
You can answer that? Okay, that's fine.
I want to.
Yeah?
I got exciting news, but now's not the time.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
So something is on the horizon. This isn't the end of what
Oh,
can we
this
say?
is definitely not the end of Christina Lokey.
Okay, advocating for the city and the bond.
Not even just advocating for the city and the bond, just being a part of the solution.
Okay, I love that. Christina, tell me about how many years were you in your position now currently?
So I was about a year and 2 months in economic development. I spent 7 years with the Convention and Visitors Bureau because I really hope I get the live cut of this. Of me sweating and of me being out here and of all this awesome development because a 37-year-old is doing this. And she has 4 through 4 Fannin and her family, the Broussards, have been here for so long. And that's what's so exciting is that our next generation, this 30 to 40-year-olds and even younger, we're the future. Thank you, you get it. We're the future of Beaumont.
Yeah.
And it's time for the future to stand up. And you don't have to say anything on social media. You just have to get out and vote and make sure that you're voting for growth because Beaumont deserves better. I think I just want to tell everyone out there, like, man, if you're even the littlest bit unhappy at work, control what you can control. And what you can control is finding another job because you don't know your worth until you're gone.
Anything else you want to add?
I do. I really want to thank reporters like you. I have worked with you for a very long time, and you're one of the only ones that I trusted to do this interview with. And I mean that because so many, you're construing the story to get more views, and I get that. Negativity sells. And I completely understand why on Facebook it's parody and it's fun and satire, and I understand that. But the divisiveness needs to stop, and we need to come together.